Hi everyone, this is Lori here with Lori Hooks. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me today. So I thought that I'd get on here today and talk about my knit sweater because I finished it yesterday and I am so happy that I have it done, and I'm so happy that I have it done in time to wear it a bit before it gets too warm outside. So let's talk about what I loved about this sweater and what I loved about the pattern, and let's talk about something that I really disliked about this pattern. I also thought that I would talk a little bit about a game night that my friend hosted over the weekend. That was a lot of fun, that I thought you guys might be interested in doing with family or friends. So the pattern. So this is a Mary Maxim kit and it is called the Carefree Cardi. This is a picture from the front of the pattern. As you can see, it's a super cute cardigan. I really love the way that it looks. The patterning in it is beautiful. I'll show you my sleeve so you can see the patterning in it. I hope you guys can see that okay. And I will insert some pictures here of my finished cardigan. I think it fits really well. It is a tiny bit too big on me, but that's okay. And sorry, I didn't put nice pants on. I should have, but I'm wearing the typical type of shirt that I would wear with it. Probably not a black or white shirt, just to add some color to it, but just to give you guys a see of what it looks like. So, and this is the yarn that I use for it. It is this Mary Maxim Rags yarn, and this is the colorway black, and this is 100% acrylic yarn. The kit came with 9 of these 100 grams, 198 meters, 216 yards skeins, and I have 3 of these left from the kit. It came with 9 for the size that I bought. I bought the large, extra large size on the kit, and it came with 9. In the pattern shows all 4 sizes, which is small, medium, large, extra large. And they show for the small or medium, 7 balls, and for the large, extra large is 9 balls, and I only use 6. So I think they way oversold on the amount of yarn, and I use the called for knitting needle, which is a 6mm. And in terms of my sizing, so the chest measurements, I made the large size, so they're saying to fit chest 46.5 inches. The sleeve seam is 18.5 inches, and the length from the back of the neck is 31 inches. My measurements are very close to that. So I don't know why they have so much yarn in here left, because I would think if my sizing was way off, which would mean that my gauge is off, then I would use a lot less, but I don't see why it's so far off. But anyway, so that is that part. Now I have 3 skeins left to figure out what to use them for, so that's one thing about this pattern. Not really a complaint. Don't take it as a complaint, because it's not really a complaint. I love the way the sweater looks. I love the yarn. I loved working with the yarn. The patterning of the pattern itself, although it was difficult for me to follow, because they're calling this, in terms of the difficulty rating, they have 3 of the 4 blocks on intermediate, so I would say that's intermediate to advanced type pattern, and I would say that the pattern is definitely at least in that range. I read the reviews on the pattern after the fact. Quite a few of the reviews said that they thought it was a very difficult pattern, that they had been knitting for a very long time and had a lot of trouble following the pattern. So the fact that I had a lot of trouble following the pattern wasn't surprising. I wish those people had talked more about what they had trouble with, so that I knew if it was, I knew it was the same problem I had with it. And that's what I'm going to get to now. So this pattern has capped sleeves. I didn't know what that meant. It never occurred to me that I should look and see what that means. Not that I knew what I would have done about it if I had known. I probably would have just continued on because that's just me. But I don't know. So in case you don't know what a capped sleeve is, I'm going to insert an example here of what a capped sleeve is so you can see very obviously what it is. It's basically like when you make a, and this is a sewing example because I could not find an example of this in knitting or crochet. And I'm going to get to that part as well about it. So typically where I can find examples of capped sleeves is something like this, where it's a fitted blazer or fitted top that is a fabric that doesn't have any give. It doesn't have any stretch in it. So when you sew it, in order for it to be form-fitting, it needs to be sewn exactly to the right measurements. And so like our shoulders don't have square corners the way that our typical clothing is made. I shouldn't really say that. I guess our clothes aren't really made with square corners, but they're not, our shoulders are kind of more like this is, and more, so maybe this pattern is more traditional, that more traditional type clothing from maybe like the, I don't know what age, like what range, like I remember my mother when I was in elementary school, my mom had an office job and she wore a blazer like this sometimes to work. Her work, she wore, you know, more formal type wear, whereas today, you know, everybody dresses so much more casual, so it's just this type of form-fitting element in today's clothing is just pretty uncommon. But the way the pattern, like the look of this, looks very modern. So it's just, to me, it's surprising to find a capped sleeve in a modern pattern. So, so you understand a little bit better why this was so difficult is because you shape your sleeves and your panels for your front and your back. So your front panel, instead of being square, or not square, rectangle like this with straight sides, it has like a curve that goes like this for your sleeve. And same with your back. You have your back panel and it has curves at the tops for your sleeves. And I should have taken pictures when I got to assembly and how confused I was, because when you're looking at it, it looks like a square peg, round hole situation. They don't look like they're going to fit together. Now, it also did not help that I read something wrong in the pattern. In the pattern, it has you work the sleeves to a certain length, which would be your length from here, like your length from here to your wrist, and then you work this top section afterwards. So it's constructed from the sleeve up, from your wrist up, sorry, and then you add your shoulder piece, the shoulder cap, afterwards. So I worked to the length, and when I was working this part here, it tells you to work it for so many inches, and I worked it a little too far. I didn't understand where the measurement was. The measurement actually went from wherever the seam is. My seam's right here. So the measurement went from here to, I think, around here, and I read that wrong. I thought that it should go, I thought that it was like a height, not to measure the actual seam. So I actually added, because it was a height thing, I thought, so I actually added a couple inches the extra there. So I ended up having to take out about 27 rows, which included all the decreases at the top. So I had to take out about 27 rows and then add back in the last 12 rows of decreases at the top on both my sleeves. So not a big deal. I got past it. At first I was really upset. My husband had to calm me down. Because, you know, I put a lot of work into it and then I couldn't figure out how to assemble it. And I had to watch a bunch of videos of sewing videos to figure out how to get the square peg in the round hole. Because the size, it just didn't match. Like, you have this sleeve that goes, not sleeve, your front panel and your back panel go like this, and your sleeve goes like this. And I'll put in like a picture here from like a sewing website that I found with pictures of the two. It doesn't really explain how to assemble it. I watched a few YouTube videos to figure out how to assemble it. If you guys are interested in knowing what those videos are, let me know. I will include them in the description box, but otherwise I'm not going to, because I probably watched like 5 videos and I can't tell you which one was the most helpful out of them. But I did eventually figure it out, and I did eventually get my sleeves sewn on. The pattern gave no instructions at all for assembly other than to ease the sleeves into the front and back panels, I believe is how it was worded. It was very, very vague. Yeah, fold sleeve in half lengthwise. Place a fold to each shoulder seam, sew sleeves in place, easing to fit armholes. That's all you get. And the only picture included in the pattern is this one. There were no other pictures included with this pattern. And I don't know if this is the way that all Mary Maxim patterns are. You guys can tell me if you bought a Mary Maxim pattern before and whether or not it was like this. But I found it very frustrating. And I don't understand the point in it. To me, any fabric that has give, so stretch, I don't see why you would need to do a shoulder cap. I don't see why you need the extra shaping. I don't think that it's going to help it fit better because you did a shoulder cap. That's just my opinion. I think knit and crochet items, especially knit items, have enough stretch and give in them that is just completely unnecessary. And I've never seen it before, and I couldn't find any examples of it in knitting or crocheting. And I would think that if a YouTuber wrote a pattern, which there's lots of YouTubers out there who write patterns and do tutorials for those patterns, I would think that there would be tutorials for it if there were patterns like that, but I couldn't find any. Now maybe there's other names for it besides a shoulder cap and I was searching the wrong terms. Possibly. If that was the case, let me know. But that's where I ended up with it. And for this reason, I would say I loved the pattern. I love the way that it looks, but I wouldn't do caps again. I would just knit front panels, back panels, make them rectangular panels, and then when you do the sleeves, like do the decreases. Sorry, they're because it's worked from the wrist up. They are increases to make your sleeve the right width, and then I would just like make it boxed off at the top, the way that typical knit and crocheted cardigans are, that are sew together type, not raglan type, where you build panels for everything. So I hope I didn't get too confusing. Kind of feel a little confused myself right now, but I had a very confusing weekend with these crazy shoulder caps and sleeve caps, or whatever you want to call them. So I am very happy the sweater is done though, and I'm very happy with the end result. So don't take it the way that I'm not happy with the end result, because I am. I am very happy with the end result. Yeah. So about the game night that our friend had, I wanted to talk about that. She did a game night and she invited, I think there were 18 of us there, including our hostess. And what she does is she separates us, like she has us all pick a number so that we get partnered with our person who has the same number as us. I actually picked the same number as my husband, and we opted to pick new numbers so that we weren't paired up with each other. We just think it's more fun that if you're not playing with your spouse, you're playing with somebody else. I ended up partnered up with a good friend of mine, and my husband was actually partnered up with her husband, so that worked out. They're actually, I kind of pause on the husband because they're not actually married, but you know what I mean. So anyways, she does a whole bunch of silly, quick little games, and I think this would be fun for family and friend get-togethers where you have like probably at least 8 people, enough people to have like 4 pairs. I think you need at least that many. But she finds these games like off Pinterest and stuff like that, and they're all like, the last time she did the game night, they were all 1-minute games where you did something for a minute. So an example of that would be like she poured out a box of Fruit Loops on the table and we all had pipe cleaners, and it's how many Fruit Loops you can get on your pipe cleaner in a minute using only one hand and whatever other parts of your body. The other hand is behind your back. So like myself, I had my long pipe cleaner and I held on to it near the end and fed on the Fruit Loops, and because they kind of get stuck, they don't want to go down the pipe cleaner, I would take the pipe cleaner and put the end in my mouth and pull them down and then put a whole bunch more on my pipe cleaner. So in the minute, I think I got 28 Fruit Loops onto my pipe cleaner, and I didn't do too bad. There were some other people that I only got like 10. One of the guys, he did his by putting his pipe cleaner, he folded it in half and put it in his mouth, and took like a handful of Fruit Loops and shoved them on with his pipe cleaner in his mouth. That way didn't seem to work out as well because he didn't get on as many as I did, but it's fun to see what different people do for different things. But that was one of the games. Another game she did, she put 2 plates like this to each other, butt end to each other, and the plates have a bit of a rim on them. And she put 6 ping pong balls in each plate. The ping pong balls, like one group of 6 was white and the other group of 6 were yellow. And the partners have to blow the ping pong balls from one plate to the other plate. And if you blow them onto the floor, or if they, you know, if your partner blows your ping pong ball back, you have to get it back over again. So anyways, you have to switch it so that your ping pong balls end up the opposite way around, and you raced it against another partnered group, and whoever got their ping pongs over the fastest won points for it. So it's all points based. You get so many points for each thing that you do, and then at the end of the night they tally up all the points to decide who wins. My partner and I got in 2nd place this time. When we had game night the last time, which was in, I think January. I think it was January. My husband and his partner won that game. That one. This time it was actually the partner that he had the last time and his new partner he had this time. It was them that won. He's very competitive though. He often wins these type of things. So. But it was a fun night out. It's got a little bit of physical activity in it, but not too much. And it was a good night. Yeah, so if you're looking for something to do with friends or family that's a laugh, some of the games were quite funny. Like one of the games, she had cups and they had like a string attached to it well, she had one string that you tied your cup around your waist. She had another string that hung from the cup with a ball in the bottom, and without using your hands, you had to get the ball into the cup. So that obviously was a funny game with everybody moving their hips to try to get the balls into the cups. That was probably the funniest game out of all of them. I'm trying to think what else we did. There was a game we did where she gave us each 6 cups and a balloon, and while the balloon was in the air, we had to build like a pyramid out of our cups, and when the balloon came back down and we caught it, we had to stop building, and whatever cup we had to put it back where it started. So it was a race to see who could finish building our pyramids first, and we got points based on who won that part. So that was another good one that we did. What was the first one we did? It had something to do with Tic Tac Toe, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, the cup sat on the edge of the table and we had to flip it so that it was standing up. The cup wants to typically land upside down. We had to get it landing back so it was standing up again. So the cup was upside down and we flicked it off the edge of the table. And if it landed right side up, then you got to move your tic-tac-toe pieces, and you played against someone else on another team, and whoever won the tic-tac-toe first got the points. So that was another game that we did, and it was a lot of fun. So that was game night. So that was my weekend. I spent Saturday evening at game night, and I finished my knit sweater. And actually, I made a few granny squares. I made 2 more of the soft white frigid. So I finished that skein, and I made 3 of another colorway. What is this colorway called? Oh, here it is. This is called Soft White Hot Stuff. And this is what it looks like. So I made 5 granny squares also. That was the other thing I did over the weekend. Did a little bit of cooking, did a little bit of cleaning, did a little bit of hanging out with my husband and my daughter. That was about my entire weekend. So anyways, I hope that you guys had a good weekend. If you'd like to tell me something that you did, or whether or not you've played a game night like that, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. And I'll see you guys next time on Lori Hooks. Thank you, everyone.